Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to the Popternative podcast. This is the podcast where we have digital discussions from the worlds of social media, sports, and pop culture. And we're cross-intersecting sports and pop culture. We have some guests from the sports world, some guests from the entertainment world. Quickly going to introduce the panel. First, we have an actor. He's on a bunch of stuff you might have seen. He's currently on Red Oaks, which is a sitcom on Amazon, and he's also on BlindSpot and NBC. Ennis Esmer is with us. Ennis,
hello.
Welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me. This is strange.
No problem. That was one of the first times ever someone has said that it's strange coming on my show. So thank you.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah, and we have both making the returns on Popternative. We have TSN anchor Nabil Karim is back with us. Nabil, finally got you back on. Welcome back to the show, brother.
Yeah, I was kind of bored this afternoon, so I decided.
All right, I'll take it. And last but not least, I think I'm going to say, we have Director of Scouting on TSN, Craig Button is with us. Craig, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, Nabil and I talked the other day in the studio, and we felt that we should do a little charity and come on your show. You're losing a lot of viewers to James Duthie.
Yeah.
Rubber Boots podcast, kicking my butt, man.
No, he's crushing you, and you don't have a chance. Let's just be honest.
I have no chance.
I mean, if Duthie asked us to be on this week, we wouldn't be here.
I know. But he did ask you, so you have to resort to me, so think about that. So, Ennis, you're really busy right now. More now on the promoting side, because everything seems to be already done filming, and now you're just promoting everything. So what have you been working on specifically lately? I understand, too, that you've been promoting, like, Red Oak Season 2 is now available on Amazon. What specifically has been going on in the world of Ennis Esmer?
I'm working on a show right now called Private Eyes, where Jason Priestley plays a former hockey player who's a detective in the most Canadian-sounding TV show you've ever heard of. I get to play a detective on that. It's fun. I get to break Jason's balls and flirt with Cindy Sampson. So it's a good time on that show. And otherwise, I'm working on a movie starting a movie with Patrick Adams called Clara. That's it's sort of like a sci-fi romance kind of drama thing. It's cool. It's different. I'm into it.
Awesome.
So, Ennis, I have a question for you. I have two questions for you.
Oh, wow. Open panel. Go for it. Are you going to be as nice to me as you are to our lovely host here?
We're always nice to Petey. You know what?
I like it.
When he begs long enough for us to come on, we finally break down.
I feel bad. I said yes on like the second ask. I should have held out a little longer. Jeez.
So, you actually desperate on the second ask.
Is that the detective show? Is that the one that Dare Joyce has been writing?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. So I know Dare very well. I've read a few of the books, and and now watching it on TV, it's fun. I find it interesting. So when you talk about promoting on social media and everything, how important is that today for you? Because I think we're seeing this big change in how not only people digest TV shows and sports or whatnot, but also how it's promoted.
It's like it's debatable. You know, some people don't think they need to be on social media much at all, and some people do. And it sort of depends. Like some of it, I take my own initiative just because like people don't know some of these shows are out. Like Red Oaks is on Amazon Prime. A lot of people don't know how to get Amazon. Like never even heard of the show, stuff like that. So we're just trying to get that word out when it's not sort of more traditional terrestrial advertising like on TV that people might have like come across it or something, you know. So it varies, But I also like I'm also desperate for attention, so there's that. So being online is great for that. You know what I mean? It's I don't do stand up much anymore, so you don't get that instant validation quite like someone clicking on a little heart on a screen. Oh, it's soothing and warming. You know what I mean? It's so personal. It's so real. Yeah.
I live for the hearts.
God, the hearts. Thank God there isn't like a broken heart one, because who knows?
No,
you know what I mean?
That's coming.
It's coming?
It's coming.
Well, a couple weeks ago, Craig, you were on part of that wonderful program known as Trade Center, and that sounded
sarcastic.
Almost a little rude, actually.
Okay, no, it's a great show. James Duffy's my friend, so I'm gonna support everything.
No, he's not.
He's my friend, but he said he was gonna come back on the show, regardless.
Just because you believe something doesn't mean it's true.
What did you do to James Duffy?
I don't know what I did to James Duffy. Regardless,
everybody goes, yeah, you're my friend. Trust me, you're not his friend.
Regardless, I just had a question for Craig on the social media.
Wow.
How hard was it for you just to stand by the trade bait board that whole time? And I'm sure you had your phone on you, but like just you kind of were delegated to that main spot, and they would go to you. I mean, it was and like not like Nabil or Jen. You weren't on like the desk doing the anchor of the news, but how was that experience for you? You did it last year. You always do it on Trade Center, but that was a different thing. Like you weren't really analyzed. You were more like it was almost like reporting the trade bait board.
It was lonely. I was there by myself. They also didn't let me move from that spot the entire 14 hours.
Oh
so
my
it was
God.
really hard. Like you try to eat standing up. I mean, they even brought in the porta potty so that I could use the facilities to do that. So you just have to do your part. I mean, James Duffy scripts a lot of this stuff. So once he sets the script in motion, there's not much choice the actors have in it.
You taking a dump on set might have been one of the highlights.
It's a top-notch operation. They got you a whole porta potty. That's amazing. usually you just get a bedpan in Canada.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They really sprung for that.
So the big news.
Not a lot going on, Pete. We know that there's a lot going on trade deadline, and we're really lucky to have some really good people. James Duthie. I don't think Steve Dryden, who's the managing hockey editor at TSN, gets enough credit for the loads of preparation he does and the detail. I mean, the stuff that shows up in that long span of time, more than half the stuff never gets to air. So, I mean, You have to be ready to react and respond to what's not happening. It's easy to respond to what is happening, but it's all that time when you're trying to, talk about what isn't happening. And I think we're really lucky to have some really, I mean, obviously James is great, but also the people behind the scenes, Steve Dryden. And I can't forget to mention the two producers, Bill Dotson and Jeff Mott, who really make the thing run.
No, it was a great program, and one of the things I really enjoyed about it is Nabil Karim was not on Trade Center.
Ooh.
Hey, I'll tell you my one story about Trade Center. The first year I got to TSN, Steve Dryden actually came up to me and he's like, "Hey, I want you to host one of the panels, the fourth panel, or whatever." And I was super jacked. I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be awesome! My first year at TSN, to do that, it's a big deal." It got kiboshed, obviously. And I went from potentially hosting a panel on that show, primetime, to being the second camera guy, basically, for Mark Masters. So I was Mark Masters' right-hand man. My whole duty that day was to stand outside the MasterCard Center where the least practice and wait for Brian Burke. I had to get that shot of Brian Burke driving in. That was my job. So I went from all the way up here to down here, and I've never done it since.
Wow. That was... I don't know how to top that. That's.
I feel like we should all share something really personal. That was really. Thank you for opening up like that, Nabil. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
But the thing that I want to ask you, Nabil, specifically, is the big news that happened this month is Jay and Dan have announced that they are coming back to TSN, and then Ennis. This is also a similar question for you as well. So pay attention. But
wait, they're coming back full time?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing! Great.
Yeah.
I love those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, Ennis. You think it's amazing. The viewers across Canada think it's amazing. It's not so good for Nabil and I because we're going to be displaced and maybe even replaced. So,
I mean, Nabil's he's clearly got a career as a cameraman too. So that's good.
Yeah, no, that's really nothing.
But
I'm in one place for a long period of time. Maybe the bus stop, but everybody's celebrating it. This isn't such good news for Nabil and I.
I'm sorry.
But so they moved when they were at Fox Sports, and Jay Onrait, believe it or not, has been on Popternative, and we had a conversation about this, and he moved away from highlights, and they were more doing kind of like different stuff, interviewing. But pop culture was always a big part of it. And when you're doing TSN and you're doing the news in the morning, Nabil, there's definitely you definitely see you trying to incorporate pop culture or relating something to things as much as possible. So there's a highlight of someone at a Warriors game who's on a TV show. You're gonna put that in your bit. So my question is, you're using social media for this. How important is it to be in the loop and incorporate social media and pop culture so it's not just sports? Because it gets popular when you put in a little bit of sprinkles of pop culture in the sport highlight pack as well.
Yeah, no, it's important. And it's interesting now because if you're not keeping up with pop culture, you're missing out on references, especially in our highlight packs, because our editors and our story writers and everybody working on the highlight packs on the row, which we call it the row, they're into pop culture. They're young, so they're making references into the packs. You'll see athletes, you see celebrities at games like you were mentioning, especially like basketball games. There's always celebrities at these games. So they'll have a shot of them. They'll have a shot and they'll have maybe a little blurb about them. And yeah, you can just read what they say, or you can ad lib. And when you ad lib and know what they're talking about, it helps out a lot. So, I mean, it's entertainment. Not everyone wants just a straight hard facts. Not everyone just wants stats. They want a story that goes along with the game. And I think our guys do a pretty good job of kind of bringing that element in and having some fun with some of our packs.
I have a question on that. I want to add to that.
Yeah, sure.
If you don't, pardon me for interrupting, Pete. How much do you guys get to ad lib and mess around when you're doing highlights? That's something I've always wondered because it's always. I know there's a script, but
yeah,
how much can you deviate when you know it's like a set amount of time? You know how long the packages are, all that.
What's interesting is like it depends on what show you do. So like if you do the 10 o'clock show. 10 Eastern, games are still in progress, right? So you're basically going on set without any scripts, and you're basically getting the scripts as the games are coming. So I would basically, it's a cold script, right? You haven't seen it before, so your ad libbing is, some guys can do it. They won't go completely off script because you haven't seen it, but you can react. Sometimes there's like a little, and Craig, you know this in script. Sometimes it says, ad lib reaction. You have 4 seconds or something like that.
Right.
Ad lib it. If you're more comfortable with the sport, you can get away with it. Basketball, I find, is a little bit easier for me to ad lib just because of the play and the pace, the way we do our highlights. But hockey, it's really quick and really tight, and we put a lot of information in there. So it can be difficult when you do the 1 o'clock show, which is the 1 Eastern show.
Yeah.
All the games are done basically, and you have an opportunity to look at those packs, and then you put in your own spice to it. So
you can tell it more like a story as opposed to just sort of rolling with the clips that are coming up.
Yeah, and it's more language. It's like, I wouldn't say this. And so you kind of cut this out and then you
say
that one. But if you think something's funny, whoever wrote it might not think it's funny, but you might think something's funny or something's not funny.
Yeah.
Change it up. So it kind of represents you a little bit more.
Yeah, I get that. Okay, cool.
And,
Ennis, I would just say to you too, real quick, just to interject.
Yeah. Yep.
By the time the 10 o'clock highlight shows or the midnight or whatever the highlight, everybody's seen the highlights. Everybody's seen the highlight of a goal. So if you're just going to present it, you need to present it in a different way. I know when we do the shows, depending on what we're doing, we're always trying to find the interesting things that have happened surrounding the game or surrounding the play to try to add to it. Because if you're just going to show the goal, how many times have people seen that? So I think and you want to present it in a different way that is interesting around social media and pop culture.
Right. It's context too, right? I mean,
it is.
But you could see that shift on social media as well, where you're not seeing as many posts just saying, check out this sweet goal that Sidney Crosby just scored. It's more like, he scored a goal, here are all the reactions. It's way more than just showing the highlight. And I think that's what we're seeing. And that's why I think, Nabil, you were alluding to a little bit, how it's changed for the past 5 years, how you put together highlight packs.
And I just jump into one thing, TSN does a pretty good job of it. I know the Bleacher Report does a really good job. SportsCenter in the States does a really good job. You'll see, if you follow their feed at night, they'll have like the biggest, funniest, most entertaining plays of the night.
Yeah.
That's what usually is trending. That's what usually people are talking about. Mm-hmm. They're not talking about, the Minnesota Wild playing Columbus or whatever, a 2-1 game. They're talking about some college game or some basketball play. Or what I find really entertaining right now, and the Bleacher Report does a really good job of it, high school games. There's some crazy plays that are coming out of high school hockey, high school basketball, things you don't get to see on our show too often. but you will see from the States, and they do a really good job of highlighting those things, and those things go completely viral.
Yeah, well, I can't wait. I mean, it's March, right? March Madness coming around the corner, so that's gonna be good. But Ennis, I have
the Bills point, Pete. Just to be real, like the other night in a Minnesota Wild game, ironically, Chris Stewart, who's a hard-nosed player who gets in the scraps now and again, there was a little skirmish in front of the net, and he went to try to get after a player on the San Jose Sharks, and he ended up punching his own player. And, yeah, it wasn't a hard punch, but he could see Zach Parise kind of laugh. But then the guy he was going after, which was Joe Ward, he was laughing at the whole thing too. So you have this whole scene of what was going to be a skirmish end up being with everybody kind of laughing about the whole thing. And I think that ended up being a real trending topic that night on TSN.
I can guarantee we played that up, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
And Craig, you do a good job too on social media as well to make sure that your followers are finding out about what's going on around the leagues. But I see you sometimes quote retweet, those funny highlights that happen throughout the night as well. You make an effort to diversify your content and make sure that you're getting a little bit of everything in there.
I have two daughters that are 20 and 23, and all their friends. I mean, they're right there. So, and I love all the different music over years. I love current music. I love old music, but I love just being up on what's happening. And one of the great things that I feel fortunate about is that I'm around young people all the time, whether to Nabil's point about being on the road with the young guys, working with guys, or my kids, or being around the young hockey players. So you are current and you want to be current. And I find that really, really exciting and exhilarating.
For sure. And now, Ennis, I got a really good question for you, and it was related to what we talked about.
We'll judge if it's a good question or not.
It is a good question.
I was going to ask what the barometer is, but I'm excited to hear it.
No, it's a good question.
Okay.
Sorry, what was that, Nabil?
I said it sounds like it sucks so far.
It just feels like if it was a good question, you wouldn't have to say it's a good question. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah. On Amazon Prime, you play in Red Oaks. You play Nash, who is a tennis instructor. Mm-hmm. And you are a big sports fan. I see you tweeting about the Raptors as well. But you're playing a tennis instructor, so it's sports related in Red Oaks specifically. Yes. My question is, do you see it as an importance of being in the loop with sports and specifically tennis to help you with your role as Nash?
That's an excellent question, by the way. Really good.
What do you guys think? That was a good question.
Wasn't that a phenomenal question? Oh boy, this is a tough crack. It's interesting. It's funny with a character like that. Like we worked with a tennis pro. It's way more important for Craig Roberts to be good at tennis because he actually had to play tennis on the show. But over the life of the 2 seasons, I have not hit one ball on camera, so it became it's like this running joke of like I'm not very good at tennis. I like it, but otherwise, as far as researching, because the show's set in the mid '80s, so the writers will put stuff in there if they want to put references to players from that era. But aside from like throwing in ad libs and things like that, like it's good to sort of be aware of the world that we're in. And I mean, they even had like Sports Illustrated from the prop department was doing a lot of that work more than me. So by the time it gets to me, all that work's sort of already been done. You know what I mean? So I just got to not screw it up.
Yeah.
How much ad-libbing do you guys do in your scripts?
I mean, it's wild because I get to do quite a bit usually, and they have the benefit of editing as well. So that's what I'm thinking. Like, you have so much more authority over your own material. Like, if you want, as you said, like, if you come up with a joke, you can just do it. I mean, I don't know if there's blowback if you make a joke that they didn't like or whatever, but, on a show like that, depending on how the day's going and stuff, as long as you get a couple that are on script, then you get options to play around, and they just pick what they, I throw a lot at the wall and then see what sticks.
And Craig and Nabil, you guys should watch it.
I think it's a really good question and better than Pete's.
Thank you.
It was good.
Yeah, I didn't want to show up Pete, but that was a really good question.
It was a good question.
I didn't even prepare.
I know. It just seemed like it spoke for itself. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's great.
Hey guys.
So many of today's athletes, not so many, they're involved in social media. How much of that crosses over into films and documentaries, sitcoms and whatnot, and them wanting to be part of it now, not just actors playing that part?
You mean like athletes getting on
Yeah.
Like on TV and things like that?
Like you being the tennis instructor for like Jeannie Bouchard. Like she wants to be on TV, for an example.
That just destroyed your question, Nabil. Your question is like smoked.
No, you're right.
It's not a contest.
I was too.
Yeah. But yeah.
It doesn't have to be a contest, Pete. I mean,
Yeah.
I thought you all had a good question. You're seeing a lot more like making of stuff, behind the scenes sort of shows that are about the industry, things like that. So with that comes a lot of, I guess, like athletes playing themselves will pop up on shows and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, that'd be cool. We actually have a tennis player named Brad Gilbert who was I guess just coming up. Or just sort of hitting his peak in the mid 80s when the show is. He plays a character on the show, and we've gotten a lot of like love for the fact that he's playing it like a sort of like he plays Paul Reiser's sort of nemesis on the show. He's this other tennis pro that's always kind of ruffling Paul's feathers and all that. So that's a way in, and he gets to play a character, and he's nailing it too. So that's kind of fun. We've built an audience from that for sure to have fans of his come and watch him on TV.
Great. No, that was a good question. I think we're going to wrap up here because I know that Craig has to head out shortly. But thank you all, three of you guys, for coming on the show. Craig, it's always a pleasure to have you on, even if you're chirping me for a good amount of time with a TSN employee.
I just want to let you know, thanks for having me on. This will be my last show because I'm going to be on with James now. He's told me to do one more.
So you're not allowed to come on the show anymore because James told you?
Well, I'm allowed, but I'm going to choose not to because I think that James has a big following, and that can help me in my social media following to a great extent.
Fair enough. But thanks, Craig. And Nabil, thanks a lot for coming on. And you had a very good question. And thanks a lot, man.
No, you're right about that. Thank you.
So
It was a really. Can I ask a question? How did you come up with that question? It was such a good question. You know what? Tweet at me later. Just tell me, think about it. You don't have to answer now.
I'll hashtag it.
Cool.
Great.
Hashtag great question.
And Ennis, thank you so much for coming on. We wish you all the best with all your projects.
I would have prepared to be meaner to you if I knew that was the vibe of the show.
I didn't even know this was the vibe of the show.
I look forward to being on again sometime.
Yeah.
As
I do too. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
With Nabil and Ennis, nice to exchange with you.
Perfect.
Yeah, you too, guys.
All right, guys. This has been Popternative. You can catch previous episodes of Popternative on our YouTube page. You can follow us on Twitter. You can like us on Facebook, and audio only are on our SoundCloud and iTunes. So thank you guys very much, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.